Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi mining community, welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest is Mike Stark, who's the CEO of Arizona Gold and Silver, who are a publicly traded company engaged in junior mining exploration, primarily in Arizona and Nevada in the US. They have three projects: the Philadelphia property, the Silverton Gold Project, and the Sycamore Canyon Project. Mike has over 35 years of experience in the private sector and as an owner and operator of two successful companies. His background includes corporate finance, investor relations, market support, and corporate strategy development. Mike's going to tell us a little bit more about the company, their projects that they're obviously involved with, and what they're looking to achieve. And obviously in the projects they're involved with, and what the mining environment is like in the states of Arizona and Nevada, and obviously give us an update of what is happening there. So, Mike, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Very well, Rob. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time also. So I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, about your career. As I mentioned, you've had successful businesses in the past. So I just wondered if you can just give us a run through of your career so our audience knows a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Very much an entrepreneur most of my life. I had security in some of the positions that I held, but I've always been an entrepreneur, and I've always wanted to seek what one could do to obviously create more income, but more importantly, challenge myself. And this market for the last 8 years has been one of the most challenging I've ever experienced. But it's also good people, good properties, and we're seeing fantastic success. And I'm delighted with that. The team is getting stronger. The property itself speaks for itself. It's in the number 2 jurisdiction in the world, and that is Arizona. We're in a very mining-friendly location, which is the Oatman District, proven for over 3.5 million ounces now. And there's more ounces being found on a regular basis in the area. So this is a very hotbed that has not been discovered by, like, the facts of Nevada. Nevada would have dozens of holes in this property by now, hundreds of holes for that matter. And very fortunately, because of my VP, Greg Hahn, we came across this property, in the early 1980s and patiently waited until the opportunity for us to have it, which was late 2019. So extremely patient, but very well rewarding now with just over 112 holes into the system. And we're averaging about an 80% hit rate. That's exceptional in this industry.
Yeah. Before we speak about Arizona Gold and Silver, as I mentioned, you've had a successful business career in the past, and you did mention the last 8 or 9 years has been very challenging, and the most challenging it has been. What businesses were you involved in before, and why has the last 8 or 9 years been more of a challenge than previous years in terms of being in business?
Sure. Well, let's go back. I mean, we're going to go back a long time though first then.
That's okay.
I started off in the construction industry, and I built successfully, what would it be now, 9 homes completed. That was a very successful, great career, enjoyed it immensely. And then I wanted to move on. So where did I go next? I went on a holiday, and I was on the East Coast, and I fell in love with art, and I came back to Vancouver, and I actually acquired an art gallery. So talk about 2 different spectrums. And all during these times, I was a full-time, full-fledged firefighter in the city of White Rock, where I currently live. So versatile in a few different areas, but like I say, an entrepreneur was my background. And then I got introduced to the market in the early 1991, I guess it was, 92. And I started to follow a few companies. I saw the risk, and there certainly is risk. But then I just kept on persistently watching a few individuals, and I became friends with a couple of them. Next thing you know, I became shareholders in that company. And then I wasn't afraid to talk about it. And as I talked about it, more people listened. And I guess at one point we had about 55 people in this little group following and talking to each other. And it created a pretty good size ownership in this one particular company called Exeter. And lo and behold, a couple of years later, it was bought out by Barrick. So that turned into a very big success. And I enjoyed that. It was the camaraderie with people, speaking to people, and having no worries about what you're saying because it's just coming across of what you know. And I really enjoyed that. So in the late 2002, 2003, I guess it was, I had an opportunity to sit on a board. And I did my due diligence. I made sure that everything was correct. And that's roughly 2006, I guess it was. I got introduced to Greg Hahn. Sorry, 2000. Yeah, about 2006, I got introduced to Greg Hahn, and I really admired this individual because of his honesty, his integrity, and not only that, his world-class exploration abilities. He knows everything. He's like an encyclopedia. And we started Arizona Gold and Silver in 2016, originally called Arizona Silver, because we had our feature property was a silver property. And as we matured in 2019, we acquired Philadelphia. We put a few holes into the ground, and the rest is history. It's been so productive, but it's now primarily gold, not silver, which is why we changed the name this year at the AGM to Arizona Gold and Silver. I hope that rounds up things a little bit better for you. Really a smattering of different things, but I really enjoy this field, and I really enjoy the camaraderie and the honesty that we're working with on this team. It's a great team of people.
Good to hear. So I wonder if you can just tell our audience a little bit about Arizona Gold and Silver, and a little bit about, obviously, you said you started in 2016, and wonder if you can just tell us how the company's grown to where it is today.
Sure. We've done exceptionally well on small capital raises. And one of the reasons I did that, and I say I was fortunate because it doesn't always pan out that way, is that we have a very strong, tight share structure. Our share structure now complete is 77 million shares out. And I'll go back to just a couple of months ago, and I'm doing these numbers now, so I'll have it better organized for everybody. But we managed to attract a fund, and a fund is 9.9% ownership in the company. Management has 28% in the company. That's an exceptional amount of skin in the game, as I like to call it. And then we have family and friends. These are people that have 2 years or longer relationship with myself or family members of the board. That's 41%. So when you start adding those up, it's basically 78 to 80% of this company is within strong, very close hands. And that's has a detriment to it because it also doesn't trade big volumes necessarily either because there's not a lot of slack. A lot of people are waiting for what the next news announcement is, how that we are advancing the company, and we're doing extremely well with that. So they're hanging on because they see the gold price moving, they see our results are getting better and better. Hey, why wouldn't you ride something that's continuously going up, as I like to say? So we're very, very fortunate with that. The structure is excellent. We just announced the financing earlier in the year. It went oversubscribed by almost $650,000. That to me was a real pat on the back. In the tough market that we were in, people came to us. And we also attracted a new fund on our last financing. This is a gentleman that I've been working with for over 3 years. And he said, I simply admire how you spend your money. You're not a lifestyle. So yeah, I want to give you guys a shot. So they put in capital as well. So they have a smaller ownership, not quite 9%. They have a smaller ownership, but it's nice to see people like that. This group looks 5 to 10 years out, and I'm not promising that we're going to be around by then, but it's just that's their time frame, and that's what you want. You want people that are patient. As long as we're doing our job and we're improving on the share price, why wouldn't you stick around? And that's exactly what we're doing. So I'm very pleased.
Wonder if you can just tell us about the 3 properties and how much you've sort of explored to date on each of the properties.
Sure. We have 3, and I'll go to the very top one in Nevada, and that's Silverton. Silverton is probably one of those ones that you call elephant country. If there's 1 million ounces, there's likely 5. We have not done a lot of work there simply because our flagship is Philadelphia. However, we're ready. We're permitted for 12. We have 12 holes permitted right now, and we're looking for somebody to come alongside as a JV and enter into an agreement with us. So we'll entertain that. But right now we're staying focused exclusively on Philadelphia because of the rewards that we're getting from the drill bit. Then we have Sycamore Canyon, which is over about 2 hours east of Tucson, an exceptional property. One of the hesitance there is it's close to a forestry, and a portion of the property resides on forestry. So that's been a big pain in the backside, if you don't mind my saying, because of the permitting process. However, we have a permit now. It's for 3 holes. And likewise, like Silverton, we're looking for that opportunity for somebody to come alongside and say, hey, how do we get involved with you here? So that's our 2 other properties. And let's now go to Philadelphia. As I say, in 2019, we acquired claims around the patented claims that we now have control of. And we slowly but surely started to gain the confidence of the patented property owner, and Daryl is his name. And as a result of that, we acquired 1 claim. And we produced some very, very nice results on that. And after that, we got the other 2 claims because of the trust and the honesty between us. And now we have the rights to all 3 of them. This last drill campaign, by the way, filled in 1.6 kilometers of continuous strike length. So we're really, really pleased about that. That's a big footprint. But yet there's still much more. We have another 1.5 kilometers to the south that the vein expresses itself periodically along the top, and that is possibly mineralized as well. So we've got a lot more to see here. Not even that, there's extreme interest to the east of our property. Let me put it this way, Rob. We've only looked at 75 acres out of our 2,400 acre parcel. So we are just barely scratching the surface right now. And that leaves a lot of upside for investment. That also leaves a lot of upside for anybody that's looking at this long term. There could be much, much more here than we already know.
Just wondering if you can just tell us a little bit more about your flagship Philadelphia property, and what you see the outlook for that property is and what you're looking to maybe achieve there.
Originally, when we started to put the first initial holes into it, we had a pretty nice number in mind. We were thinking maybe 500,000 ounces. And that number now is greatly increased with the 1.6 kilometers, and only on a very conservative basis. We believe there's well over 1 million ounces now. And we're pushing with these downhole hits that we're hitting well into the possibility of maybe 2 to 5 million ounces. And I'm extremely pleased about that. This is a hotbed. This is a very, very robust system. And we have not been disappointed. We're open down dip. We're open east-west, and obviously north-south as well. It has not showed any limitations whatsoever yet. And I like that because there's still a lot more to see. And especially down dip, these open discoveries, as a rule, have to be fed by something. And they call that the feeder zone, if you may. And we have yet to find that. But as an example, just 12 and a half miles to the south of us, when they found that feeder zone, it ended up by being 26 feet thick at 1 ounce plus material. That's ultimately what you're looking for. Right now, what we're seeing, I had a great example the other day. It looks like a windshield that has been shattered. And we are at the top of this system where the gold has filtrated into those little cracks, like a windshield cracks. It's filled it. We're still looking for the root ball that fed that up. And we're getting closer and closer. We've had some exceptional hits on our last couple of holes. We're waiting for the assays on those, by the way. But from what we see and how we feel about it, I think we're getting very close to what we believe is the root of the system.
You recently had some Leach test results, and obviously look very good, 90 to sort of 99% return. Just wondering if you can just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Best way to explain that. I don't care if you've got 1 million, 5 million ounces. If it doesn't leach, it's not worth anything. So we stepped out, and Greg did this in early 2020, by the way. And after our successful hits, I think we had 50 or 55 holes into the system, we ran a test right away. and the results were 94 to 99% return in the calendar 120 days. So we ran another test now because we're actually experiencing different material. Not all rock is the same, as you can well imagine. So we ran another test again, and those results just came back, and we got 90 to 97% return in, 90 days, and we still have another 30 days to go. That should increase. I'm not going to promise, but with those rates at 90 to 97%, this system leaches beautifully, even on a 1/4 inch material, which inevitably will save the crushing expense down the road. And a heads up, we are not going to develop this. This will be for sale at some point. We just want to continue to increase the resource. Obviously, that will increase the demand on the property, and either somebody come alongside and help us to the finish line, or a buyout, one of the two. That is the ultimate goal of the company.
You're expecting a BLM permit in obviously the near future. What would this enable Arizona Gold and Silver to do, obviously, with this permit?
We've been focusing quite primarily on what we call the Red Hills. Some of our best hits to date at 1.34 for 150 meters is in that Red Hills zone. And we are stepping outside into the BLM, and it's just a matter of meters away, but this will allow us to go down to 1,300 feet as opposed to 900 feet where we currently hit these nice results. We'll be able to step back, go deeper, which is again focusing on where this feeder is. If we're correct, and it looks like this, we've done CMHD line testing, everything is indicating that this hill is where the system was part of the original volcanic. Now, if we're right, I'm being careful, but if we're right, we find the root ball and the actual concentration of the system, this is when ounces really get added up quickly, very quickly. So this permit, due any time now, will allow us to test that Red Hills and primarily where the feeder of this whole system is located. So it's exciting times, very exciting times.
Those that are listening, obviously all across the world, understand some of the permitting challenges that the US does have. How have you found the US, the permitting system that you've been involved with, and what challenges had you faced and obviously overcome?
You know, it's a blessing when you have patented ground. You basically apply, 2 weeks later you get your permit. It's not that way with BLM. I mean, we've been waiting a year, and we're not actually creating that much disturbance. So this all goes on part of the plan, and there's environmental issues, there's water issues, but we've complied to all the rules. The dialogue between us and the BLM has been very good. They've seen our work in the previous year, so we've got a lot of credit to ourselves. I'll step out a little bit, and I believe we should have this permit in the next week or two at the very latest, just because of the dialogue that we're receiving now. We have met all their requirements, and there is nothing saying that there was no opposition to what we were asking for. That tells me we're very close, very close.
Wonder if you can just tell us the management, how the management is, who is in the management team, and the structure for the company.
Sure. Let me start with one of our primary, that's Greg Hahn. Greg is our VP of Exploration. He'll hate me for saying it, 44 years in the business now, built and operated 3 mines in his lifetime. So he's very capable in all areas, never mind being a world-renowned geologist as well. Greg has got a nose for good properties, and he's shown that in his career for other companies, and this will be sort of the flagship when we do sell this property, that he's not only done it now, he's done it for ourselves and shareholders. So Greg is a key man in the company. I'll step over to Gene Spearing. Gene Spearing, probably 40 years in the industry as a full-fledged geologist, well recognized. Gene has got a great career and been involved in a few major discoveries as well. From there, we over to Jim Ingle. Jim Ingle's our newest and most recent director. Jim came to us, thankfully, through another association of Greg, where he was involved in a cobalt company. But Jim is very versed in finance, both Canada and United States. So he was very welcome when we do get into discussions. Jim is right there beside me, and I love the fact that we can work together so well as on that. And at this point, we have a board seat open. I'm actively looking for the right fit, and I'm hoping to have that in maybe the days, maybe the months ahead of time. But at that point, it just goes back to myself, who has been in the business now for almost 35 years, I'll go safely. And again, this is my first position as a CEO. I welcome it. It's extremely challenging, but because of the board that I work with, everything is easier because I'm able to bounce the questions off, and there is no wrong questions. Every question is a valid question, and I'm learning from these processes. Again, we're very fortunate to have the board and the structure that we have because of the team.
Obviously, Arizona and Nevada are both obviously strong mining jurisdictions, not just in the US, but globally. Just wondering if you can just tell us a little bit about the mining landscape at the moment. And I suppose what's been happening during 2024 across both states.
If I understand the question right, I might ask that again. Sorry, I didn't hear you quite well.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wondered if you could just tell us a little bit about, I suppose, any news, new mining news within both states. How have things? What kind of news has been developed over the course of this year in Nevada and Arizona? What kind of things have been happening industry wide within those two states?
I think the recognition of having a safe jurisdiction has become one of the most apparent. Many of the companies that were operating in these third world countries, risk countries, as I like to call them, are looking actively to get into North America. Many of the people in Mexico especially are looking to get into North America. Political unrest, political jurisdictions that can be overturned in months are not friendly to anybody, and you can lose everything. So we have a very stable area. We have Arizona's number 2 in the world, Nevada being number 1. So that in itself is very stable. And if I'm putting capital into a risk situation, which obviously financing and risking in mining is, I want to eliminate all those risks that I can. And this is where we've decided, and number 2 in the world is not a bad spot to be. This Oatman district that we're currently drilling and working in is a proven district. It's ripe, it's ready, and it would welcome another mine right now. The 2 mines that are within 12 miles of us, one's under care and maintenance, and the other one, unfortunately, is struggling a little bit with the grade that they have being 0.4. It's a low-grade system. We have a much more robust system. Our average grade is 1 gram or more. So completely different characteristics, completely different size. We've done some metrics on this. If we were to even just utilize that mine, for instance, the profit would be immense compared to what's happening currently for them now. So everything is right where we are. We've got the people behind us. We've got the jurisdiction itself is a proven mining jurisdiction. 12 miles away, we've now produced over 3.5 million ounces. So it's a very prolific area.
Yeah. Most of our audience, or majority of our audience, are from the mining industry. We do have investors come and listen to certain episodes. If someone was looking to invest in Arizona Gold and Silver, what can they expect from you guys?
Well, that's a loaded question. I'm delighted how the share performance is going, and I see tremendous upside. I mean, with a couple of news releases that we're working on right now, this creates even more value in the company. We've had a trading high, I think, of 55 or 57 cents, and I think we're currently today about 40 cents. There seems to be a little bit of hesitation right now, and I respect that. People are not sure if we're going to get this BLM permit. But I just sent something to a gentleman the other day, and I said, we've never had a disappointment with the BLM. We have given them no reason to turn us down. We've just raised a capital raise of $1.59 million. Why would anybody not see that permit is coming? And why would you invest that capital if they thought it wasn't going to happen? Management took over $285,000 of that financing. Do you think I'd be putting my capital at risk if I didn't feel that we were getting the permit? I basically feel that's where we're at. And in the next 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, I got to be careful. But if that permit's given, I see a great influx of capital coming towards us, because now people say, hey, that's a year and a half of drilling on these 2 pads that we've designed. And if this is the root of the system, there's no doubt the stock price could easily double, maybe triple. I'm not guaranteeing that. I never will. But I feel that strongly about it. Because of our share structure, it's not 300 million shares out. It's only 77 million shares out.
Yeah. And lastly, what's the outlook for the next sort of 6 to 12 months? What's the plan of action?
Primarily, we have drilling to do on the patented ground, which has already been ready to go and permitted. Then, obviously, the BLM. The BLM pads, they will take in excess of a year to drill out. That's 40 holes in excess of 1,000-foot holes. So there's a lot of drilling to be done there. So I've exceeded your time frame for the next 6 months, but it's a year of drilling. On top of that, we have a lot of corporate stuff happening behind the scenes. And what I mean by that, there's work being done right now to not only improve the company, but make more awareness on the company. A lot of the money that we have spent, 91% went into the ground. So it didn't leave me any opportunity, and I wasn't regretting that, to do any IR, to do any, we'll do road shows, and so to speak. I didn't feel it was the time, because there was a lot of negative in the market. There wasn't a lot of money coming into the sector at all. So by not spending that money and putting it in the ground, we became that much more valuable because of the results we were getting. I think we're at a turning point right now. I believe gold is going to continue just because of the global economy. And because of that, now's maybe the time, people like yourselves, to start talking about the company, make more aware of it. In Europe, we have absolutely nobody marketing the company at all. So this is an absolute brilliant time for the people in Europe to be looking at us because of the opportunity here.
Certainly. Mike, really appreciate your time. Thank you for giving us an overview of Arizona Gold and Silver, and obviously explaining the 3 wonderful projects that you've got and you're developing, and wish you well for the remainder of the year and going into next year. And I've obviously hopefully getting that permit in the very short term.
I'm very, very confident we will. And thank you for the opportunity. I hope I explained things as best I can, Rob. So thank you very much.
No, certainly. And those that are listening, if they want to obviously know more about the company, if they want to follow your story, if they've got any questions they may want to ask you, how can they go about doing that? What social media
really simple.
I
use WhatsApp. I mean, that's common for Europe. My phone is always on, and that number is 604-833-4278. Email always works. That is mike.stark@arizonagoldsilver.com. Once you see us on the website, that's info. It'll come to me as well. But I'm easily reachable, and I love a phone call compared to maybe sometimes a cold email. But no, I'm readily available for shareholders at any time. That's much to my wife's dismay, because I do turn the phone off at 11, but it goes back on at 5. So I'm easily accessible, and I enjoy a conversation with a shareholder that's got a lot of intriguing questions. I'd love to be of help. Always.
No, that's great. And we can include all that information in the show notes accompanying this podcast for easy access. So, Mike, all the best for the remainder of the year, and obviously next year as well. And obviously, maybe good for you to come on the podcast later in the year or even next year to give us an update on the projects, and give us an update, obviously, on some drilling results as well.
Sure. We have 22 holes in the lab right now, and we're expecting results from them. So stay tuned. I look forward to seeing what we see in those and sharing that with our investment people. Thank you.
Great. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Appreciate your time as always. Thank you for listening. As always, keep sharing these episodes far and wide. Obviously, Mike's just explained a great project, or great 3 projects that they have there in the best mining jurisdictions in the world. So people do need to hear this. So appreciate your continued support. Please keep sharing these episodes. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes, and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.